Welcome back. You're watching NewsX with me, Malvika, and in the early hours of the 3rd of January 2026, the US carried out airstrikes across Venezuela with explosions rocking the capital Caracas before dawn. Shortly afterwards, Donald Trump announced that US forces had captured the Venezuelan president Nicolás Maduro and his wife Cilia Flores and flown them out of the country. US forces took Maduro and his wife to the US warship USS Iwo Jima, and the two are now believed to have arrived in New York State, where they are due to be indicted. Joint Chiefs of Staff Chairman General Dan Kane said that the operation, known as Operation Absolute Resolve, was carried out during the darkest hours of January 2nd and followed months of preparation and rehearsal. President Trump, meanwhile, has framed the capture of Maduro as an anti-drug operation to create the impression of a commonplace law and order operation to skirt international law provisions against violating the sovereignty of nations. Let's in fact take a look at Maduro's public appearances before his capture. So we're just going to take you through some of the instances of Maduro's public appearances that came right before his capture. So firstly, of course, over here we have US President Donald Trump's announcement, where he announced the US strikes on Venezuela, and where he stated that President Nicolás Maduro, who has been along with his wife captured and flown out of the country. The operation was done in conjunction with US law enforcement. Of course, as we just told you, there will be a news conference that we of course saw President Trump address later on, where in his press briefing he gave further details of the operation, and where he stated that the US will be taking over Venezuela for the time being, as long as there can be a proper change of power. So that of course is the big announcement that had come yesterday, where the United States President very clearly stated that the United States of America has successfully carried out a large-scale strike against Venezuela and its leader. So now we're taking a look at of course the appearances of Maduro right before his capture, and over here you have this appearance in what looks like an interview where you can see Maduro stating, "I have an infallible bunker, Almighty God." So of course that line, that statement by him also becomes very important. Now secondly, we have this another meeting that occurred between Maduro and Chinese officials. We see Maduro met Chinese special envoy Qui in 9 to 10 hours before the strikes in Venezuela. So just 9 to 10 hours before, we have that video over there as well, where they are wishing each other a very happy new year, where this happened just 9 to 10 hours before the US strikes in Venezuela. So those are the photos. He met these Chinese officials. We saw them arriving in Venezuela shortly before the strikes, and of course we've seen China come out and condemn the US action in Venezuela as well. So that is the meeting over here. You can see the conversation that was also took place between Maduro and Chinese officials, and this is very shortly before, just 9 to 10 hours before his capture. Now this of course is Maduro signing a declaration at 3:50 AM local time, ordering activation of military defense protocol. So those are the strike visuals that you have over there, and shortly after the US strikes in Venezuela's capital city of Caracas began, we also had President Maduro. He was still there at the time, so this clearly shows that, and he signed this order for military action at 3:20 AM local time, and as if you remember, the strikes started taking place at around 2 AM local time. Now over here you have the US Attorney General Pamela Bondi, and this statement that has been released by her, where she said Nicolás Maduro and his wife Cilia Flores have been indicted in the Southern District of New York. So now we have official confirmation of that as well. They have been indicted in New York. Nicolás Maduro has been charged with narco-terrorism conspiracy, cocaine importation conspiracy, possession of machine guns and destructive devices, and conspiracy to possess machine guns and destructive devices against the United States. So those are the charges that have of course been brought against him. They will soon face the full wrath of American justice on American soil in American courts. So another official confirmation that is coming in over here. On behalf of the entire US DOJ, I would like to thank President Trump for having the courage to demand accountability on behalf of the American people, and a huge thank you to our brave military who conducted the incredible and highly successful mission to capture these two alleged international narco traffickers. So, of course, drug charges being brought against Maduro as well as his wife and other officials as well. So, over here we have some more information for you. These are the countries with the largest oil reserves, and of course, you see Venezuela at the very top of the list. So, 303 oil reserves in Venezuela, followed by Saudi Arabia. So, more than Saudi Arabia. There are a larger number of oil reserves in Venezuela, 303, while Saudi Arabia is 267. Iran follows with 209, then Canada 163, Iraq 145. You have UAE with 113, Kuwait with 102, Russia with 80, and the United States with 74, followed by Libya at 48. So, these details of course also become very important. We've seen US President Donald Trump say that US companies will be moving in, they will be going to Venezuela and taking charge of the oil reserves over there, and you can see that it of course tops the list of the country with the largest oil reserves at 303. So, those of course are the details that we were tracking for you, taking you through not just where Maduro was shortly before his capture, but other details as well, such as what has the United States said now, as well as the countries with the largest oil reserves. We see Venezuela topping that list as well. Now, I have with me Ambassador Mahesh Sachdev, former diplomat, joining me on the broadcast. So, thank you so much for taking the time to join us, and of course, we're taking you through this information, all of these things that are coming in, and we see President Nicolás Maduro. We've had now visuals of him being taken to the United States of America. We have visuals of him being captured. What are your first thoughts when you see a leader of a foreign nation in the United States of America handcuffed and now officially being indicted on whatever charges that have been put against him? There are drug charges, there are possession of firearms that the US says he was going to be using against the United States of America. How do you view these developments that are coming in right now?
Thank you for having me. Indeed, these developments are quite extraordinary. At one plane, going by the United Nations Charter, the action is not supported by international law, which allows such attacks on a sovereign country in only exceptional situations such as war or threat from such a source, and this was not the case with Venezuela and its president. Anyway, I think there are 2 or 3 other points to be made. Firstly, you have mentioned the oil bonanza that Venezuela has. It has 303 billion barrels of crude estimated to be on its territory, which is the largest in the world, as you already mentioned. This oil is currently being processed by PDVSA, the Venezuelan national oil company. But Chevron has some foot in the door. They also exploit the oil well. I think this is one of the primary reasons that action has been taken. Venezuela produces normally 1 million barrels a day, but it's under US sanctions, and change of regime might lead to reversal of this sanction regime as well, and they would then be able to produce more. Relevant to note that in the same area, Brazil to Suriname to Guyana, uh, lots of offshore crude has been discovered, and the United States companies are at the forefront of those discoveries and exploitation. So Venezuela would join a string of new oil bonanza that United States oil companies uh, would be raising. Now, a second issue would be the recently issued National Security Doctrine of the United States, which adds a Trump corollary to 200-year-old Monroe Doctrine, which states that United States would be the prima donna of new hemisphere uh, from all the way from Canada to Chile, and would not countenance any hostile power uh, there. So that possessiveness is another reason that this action seemed to have been taken. Thirdly, I think from MAGA base of President Trump, Make America Great Again, right-wing Christian radical base that is devoted to him. I think this action uh, would appease them because of drug connections. As it is, they have their own uh, proclivities with regard to uh, Spanish-speaking illegal migrants in their country, in the United States, who are taking away the low-paying jobs, etc., that MAGA resents. All told, I think this would be these would be the reasons that prompted President Trump, apart from his publicly stated reason of drugs being smuggled into United States. Relevant to note that in his first term, President Trump has declared Maduro to be criminal suspect and opened an investigation against him for for heading a drug syndicate. Now that allegations is going to be cited in the trial, and there's no doubt that the court in the United States would find him guilty and would sentence him for a very long number of years in United States jail, as Manuel Noriega, the Panama president, was taken over in 1989 and sentenced to 20 years in jail. Similar precedents are available elsewhere with regard to Saddam Hussein and Honduras president as well. Thank you.
Absolutely, sir. I also have Mr. Group Captain UK Devnath, former Indian Air Force officer and defense expert, who's with us on the broadcast. Sir, of course, we've seen the US, even if we just talk about the second administration of US President Donald Trump, we've seen the US carry out multiple strikes on multiple powers, especially a number of strikes on Venezuelan vessels. But what is happening right now, of course, is a regime change operation. We've seen Maduro being brought to New York. He has been indicted and will be charged very, very soon. How do you view this development? And the US president has very clearly come out and said that the US will be taking over until a proper change of power can be seen, although he has not specified what exactly that would entail as well. So when he says that the US will be taking over Venezuela, what do you think that will entail?
Extremely alarming developments taking place under the leadership of President of USA. Donald Trump has almost imposed USA's hegemony over Venezuela. Uh, when he became president, he said MAGA, make America great again. People expected that he will make America great again by following various prevailing and well-established international rules. But here we see a classic case where a superpower is using its military might against a very small nation and hijacking its leader, its president. In recent histories, in fact, I have spoken to many politicians, historians, and there is absolutely no example of this type of behavior by a superpower against a very small countries in the last few decades. What US forces, Delta forces have done, if they have taken Nicolás Maduro to USA, then definitely they will pursue certain imaginary and crafted charges against him. They are almost laughable charges that he was personally responsible for drug trafficking from Venezuela to USA. Now, these charges in US courts are very easy to prove because US courts always tends to obey the persecution if the persecution happens to be US, if the persecution charges are being pressed by US government. Definitely he will be given a long-term jail sentence in USA. In the meantime, in Venezuela, as expected, in most of the countries, if president is not there, then the vice president takes over. If the prime minister is not there due to some reason, then a deputy prime minister takes over. So in Venezuela, their vice president, she has taken over. Now, if Vice President Delcy Rodriguez, will she be accepted by the USA administration? My estimation is that installation of Delcy Rodriguez in place of Nicolas Maduro as president of Venezuela will not be recognized by USA. USA will because Rodriguez definitely is part of the previous administration, and USA considers that Nicolas Maduro had installed all left-leaning communist socialist leaders in his government. So Delcy Rodriguez faces a very uphill task. She has been given oath by their Supreme Court of Venezuela, but international community is yet to accept her credentials. Probably one or two countries like Russia or China will give her recognition, but Western countries will stay away from recognizing her government. USA will definitely like to impose a puppet government and install a puppet leader in Venezuela who will be following instructions right emanating from White House. It appears, it is quite possible that Nobel Peace Prize winner, opposition leader of Venezuela, um, uh, Machado, may be installed as puppet president of Venezuela. She will definitely form an interim government with blessings from USA and definitely will sign on all the dotted lines. USA wishes to control the oil production facilities, various oil rigs in Venezuela. That was the reason, primary reason. These drug charges are make believe charges. I can definitely say, suppose if Venezuela had no oil reserves, if Venezuela was growing pumpkins or bananas, then USA would have taken no interest in what is happening in Venezuela.